struggle in the half court. Boston's had to sort of figure that out over the course of the series. For the first time this season, they win a game with fewer than 10 made threes. How have they adapted?
It's a character win. If you look at Boston, look at the stats. From the free throw line, they're 30 for 32. So that tells me they know how to win close games. They know how to win on the road. Any style of play, they can overcome that. The physicality that Orlando had, they had to do that. They have to do that. They understand that. But what do? It's Boston Celtics. They get to the free throw line. They make shots. They keep the ball in the hands of their key players to determine who passes it or who shoots it.
They racked up a bunch of free throws in the final couple of minutes of this game as Orlando was forced to foul, but the Celtics wind up plus 16 at the foul line in this game.
Yeah, that's when you have an elite team like this. You look at the way Tatum is able to get to the hole. You look where Brown is get to the hole. These guys can lull you to sleep. You know, like a lot of guys these days, they like to play with the ball and shoot jump shots. These guys can do that also. And then when you're up on them, they're going to take it to the rack. And for me, I love the way Tatum down the stretch says, okay, you know, it's not about the three shot because he's setting up his three for later on. He's going to go to the rack, get some shots, get to the paint, and also with Brown. I love it how also when Tatum gives it up to Brown, he says, okay, you got the mismatch, and they exploit their mismatches. And that's what the playoffs are all about, exploiting your mismatches and getting the best shot out of the game.
Both those guys have been dealing with injuries to varying extents. Brown's had a knee thing. He had a dislocated finger. Of course, Jayson Tatum has had that wrist wrapped because of a deep bone bruise. It's a weird spot for a bruise, by the way. But
yeah,
he's been dealing with that. Seemed okay. But 10 of 25, 37, 14 rebounds for Tatum as well. Brown had 21. And in this series against this young, defensive-minded Magic team, this is how the Celtics are going to have to play. They only got 6 points off their bench. Those were in the first quarter. It was so weird. It's so unlike the Celtics that we've seen over the last two seasons in so many ways, aside from the result.
I think also when you look at them, they're one of these teams that are smart. And they know they're playing with a physical team. And they say, what, we're going to put you on your heels and go at you defensively and see what you can do. Because as you watch the Orlando Magic, it's just old school. They're hammering guys. They're making sure you feel it. Mm-hmm. And that's the good thing about playoff basketball, and the refs are kind of letting it go. But I also feel like with Orlando, they don't have really a good offense. They just say, okay, here we're going to go one-on-one. Even though, you know, the Celtics do the same thing, but they got guys who can finish. And that's the difference when you got guys that can finish with guys that are like so-so. So they need to figure out to run some type of offense for Orlando so they can get more guys involved, because right now it's just Paolo and Wagner.
Those guys, yeah, that's it. That is the offense in terms of points and in terms of shot attempts. They took 54 shots and accounted for 55 of the Magic's 98 points. The fact that Orlando does not have a great offense is not really news. They were 27th in offensive efficiency, 28th in scoring over the regular season. So let's talk about that for Game 5. If there's a Game 6, but maybe more likely we're talking about next season and beyond. Philosophically, are the Magic okay with letting those two young guys be the high usage rate guys, try to grow into those roles and maybe be a little less efficient in the meantime? Or do they need to run some different things, maybe change the personnel up to get better, more efficient shots?
Well, right now they're trying to play with size, right? They want to play with height. Bring the guys, you know, Wagner's bringing it down, Paolo's bringing it down. But you have Cole Anthony, you have Black. You can use those guys as point guards to get into a set, get into some motion, and then finish off games. Like, looking at this, maybe they need a 3-minute drill like in football. What are you going to do in the last 3 minutes of games? Because they're in games up to 3 minutes.
Right.
But they can't get off a good shot at the last 3 minutes of games in order to win the games versus the top teams such as the Celtics. Then you talk about paint touches. Paint touches are key. So when you have size on the perimeter and you bring the ball up the court with a 6'10" guy, it's difficult to hit those gaps. So you need some motion, some false motion, some pass it. I'm not saying run a triangle, but you got to get into some motion to where it comes back to them on the weak side. Now you can attack and get into a pick and roll or good drop it into the mid post or drive the gap.
There are good players out on the floor, but it's a predictable offense, and you're not turning heads. Everybody's watching the guy with the ball because there's not a lot of cutting. There's not a lot of other action happening out there.
Not a lot of action. And also, when you have those guys who aren't really great three-point shooters, you can really crowd the paint. And you know, with the size and the length that the Celtics have, they're able to crowd the paint. Okay, you're going to spin and do all this stuff because if you watch the game, you're basically watching the same player. If Wagner has the ball or Paolo has the ball, you're watching the same player because they do the exact same moves. So that's kind of playing into the hands of the Celtics defense. And one of the things about the Celtics, we forget they got a pretty good defensive team. Yeah. Even though they're missing some of their key defenders sitting over there on the bench, but I think when you look at these guys, they all can lock up. Brown can lock up. Tatum can lock up. Even old Harford can lock up. So you have to figure out some ways to make those guys move, but playing one-on-one defense, one-on-one offense is not going to cut it.
Yeah, Orlando was the #2 defensive efficiency team in the NBA. Boston was 4th, though.
Yes.
And the differences on the offensive end are really, really stark. Again, Tatum with 37, hit a bunch of free throws down the stretch, 14 of 14 from the line to help put the Celtics up 3-1. Here he was after the game with Lauren Jabara.
Jayson, this game was tied up at 91 with 4 minutes to go. Take me through those last 4 minutes. How are you guys able to dominate, close it out here in the fourth quarter?
Resilient group. Been here before many a times. During that timeout, it's all about making plays. Everybody made plays. Defensive end got stopped, and we hit big shots.
I know you have that deep bruise in your right wrist, but it didn't seem like it mattered. 36 points in Game 3, 37 in Game 4. How is your wrist feeling, and how are you able to do that with a hurt wrist at the same time?
It's that time of the year. Everybody dealing with something. You step on this court, you got to be ready to play. I'm just trying to do whatever it takes for us to win.
Speaking of being ready to play, Al Horford, can we talk about him for a second? 38 years old. This guy's defending Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, getting massive rebounds, massive blocks. What does he bring to this Celtics team?
That's our OG. He's the leader of this team. We feed off him. Can't say enough about being this late in his career on a championship contending team and just doing whatever it takes. We depend on him. He brings it every single night. The best teammate you could possibly have.
Speaking of doing it whatever it takes, this series shifts now back to Boston. You guys are up 3-1. What's it going to take to close it out, move on to the second round?
We got to be physical. We got to be tough. It's hard to put a team away. So, the only thing that matters is Game 5. Get some rest, watch film, and get ready.
Jayson, appreciate the time. Congrats on the win. Go ice that wrist, okay? We'll see you Game 4.
Thank you.
Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and the rest. A game away from moving into the conference semifinals. They win it on the road tonight and can close out in Beantown.
37, and 14. Paolo Banchero put up a 30-piece as well, 31. Franz Wagner with 24. But in the end, the Celtics, they were able to get the job done. Magic, not enough shooters in this one as Boston takes a 3-1 series lead. And with that, we welcome an NBA champion and former NBA Coach of the Year, Avery Johnson. And Avery, the Celtics secured their 6th straight win in the playoffs following a loss. And listen, this game was played about as evenly as you could get, right? They weren't shooting great. The rebounding was kind of the same, the playmaking. And then sometimes in games, as you know, it's do you have the better superstar? And that was Jayson Tatum in this game. What did you like from him specifically that gave him the motivation and the fire to take down the Magic in this one?
Well, he was aggressive from start to finish. And when you don't have Drew Holiday, Chris, they understand their margin of error really reduces itself in a lot of different ways because Drew Holiday solved so many problems for the Celtics. And when you don't have Drew Holiday, then guess what? You get 6 points off your bench because they're doing a number on Peyton Pritchard right now. Close to 60 points or more in this game. And they came close to about 58 points combined, especially with the way Jayson Tatum went off. But this was experience, getting quality stops at the right time. But when you win the rebound game, when you win the free throw game, they shoot 95% from the free throw line. That's what doomed the young Orlando Magic team.
Yeah, the Magic, they only shot 70% from the free throw line, and they had 10 turnovers, and they were some timely turnovers. When you think about the Celtics, right, it wasn't their offensive explosion like we're used to seeing, but on defense, Al Horford made some great plays, right? Kristaps Porzingis, Jayson Tatum. What is it about their defensive scheme and their ability to challenge so many players that puts the players, I guess, in a funky zone?
Great question is their versatility. Basketball IQ, just the versatility and the depth of what they can do defensively, just like an offensive playbook, their defensive playbook is unbelievable. Yeah,
they are a well-oiled machine looking poised to repeat as the NBA champs. Now, when you look at the Magic, Avery, you got Paolo Banchero, 31, Franz Wagner, 24, but not a whole lot of help when it came to the rest of the players. What is something they can do right, moving forward in Game 5 to make sure, or at least try to prevent being eliminated by the Celtics?
Well, when you look at Banchero numbers, as you alluded to, he scores, 30? He gets 31 points, but he's 12 for 22. 12 for 32 from the field. Great defense by the Celtics. He's got to be a little bit more efficient because they rely on him so much to score. The problem with Orlando, there's always good news. There's a bright future. The bad news is when Paolo Banchero is your best player or your 1A guy on your team, you're probably going to be 41-41, and you're going to get bounced in the first round. They need another guy. They need a Jaylen Brown or a Jayson Tatum to add to their team for this team to take that next step. They won't be taking it this year against the Boston Celtics because he needs a little bit more help.
Definitely so. Avery Johnson, we always appreciate the time. Great to talk with you, man. And look at this, people. Jayson Tatum, the third most 20-point double-doubles in Celtics playoff history with 39, passing Kevin McHale, who had 38, trailing Bill Russell with 48, and Larry Bird with 70. Coming up,